First up, he is the U.S. Representative for California's 28th District and the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. You know him, you love him. Adam Schiff is over here. Deafening applause for Congressman Schiff. Well, a lot of people get standing O's, but I must say, you deserve that standing O for your not okay speech.
Thank you
when
very
you
much.
made your, that was,
thank you.
and you delivered it great. I gotta ask, maybe it's impolite, was that an ad lib, that whole speech, or did you have that ready to go?
Well, I knew the points I wanted to make, but I didn't write it out because
Really?
I wasn't sure what they had in mind. But look, you know, this has been reaffirmed now by Giuliani and the rest of the crowd. They think it's perfectly fine to take help from a hostile foreign power, to welcome it, to build it into their communications plan. They don't view that as collusion. They view that as just smart politics. I think it's unpatriotic. I think it's scummy and wrong.
I think most of the people do. But, I mean, the Mueller report is, at the end of the day, you know, that firecracker that, you know, goes up and then the one that fizzles. You know, oh, look, nothing. Do you think you guys relied too much on that?
Look, I was always of the opinion, number one, that the Office of Legal Counsel opinion that you can't indict a sitting president was wrong.
Oh, good.
That, in fact, you can indict a sitting president. I think there are prudential reasons not to try someone who's the President of the United States, but particularly when there's any risk of the statute of limitations running. If the president commits a crime, they should be indicted, and you should stay prosecution. So, but frankly, I had no expectation that that would be the course Mueller would take, even if the evidence supported it, because he is fundamentally conservative, and I don't mean left-right conservative, but he was going to follow the established policy. He was not going to make new ground. So I didn't think it was realistic to expect that he would indict the president. And those that did, I think, were unrealistic in their expectations. But I do think he laid out what we needed to see, which is that the Russians were engaged in a systemic effort to interfere in our election, that the Trump campaign welcomed it, embraced it, built it into their plan, made full use of it, lied about it, covered it up, and then obstructed the investigation into it. And if we had any doubt before about this president's fitness for office, there is no doubt remaining. He is unfit for the presidency.
Well, but this was our big gun. Now it just looks like you're stalking him. I think in the eyes of the people who don't follow it that closely, which is most of the country, here's the thing about Bob Mueller. He's like the last person, maybe the last thing in America that left and right agreed on. Left and right basically agreed. This is a guy of honor. This is an honest guy. This is an honest broker. Whatever he says goes. Americans are not into details. Don't read it to me, Bob. Just give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down. The fact that he was like, I don't. If you couldn't impeach before, how are you going to impeach after? Or should you?
Well,
were you on that?
Yeah. I'm not there yet on impeachment. I may get there. He may get me there. But here's the awful dilemma that we face. If we don't impeach him, that sends a message that this kind of conduct, this obstruction of justice, this kind of willing use of the help of a foreign adversary, all the lies and cover-up, that this is non-impeachable. At the same time, if we do impeach him, and he is acquitted as he would likely be acquitted, then the message is those are not impeachable offenses. At the end of the day, Bill, there's only one way to deal with this problem, whether we impeach him or not, and that is to vote his ass out of office. I do think that, I also think there's one thing that the country is united on, at least the majority of Americans, even if it's not Bob Mueller or in the report, and was summed up by my 91-year-old father, who said that if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, he's probably a crook. And I think people recognize, whether he could be indicted or not, that his conduct is unethical, probably criminal in terms of at least the obstruction of justice. And we have in our power, even if we don't have it legislatively because the GOP in the Congress will do nothing to stand up to this man. There is no patriotism left in Trump's GOP. But we have it within our power, we have it within our numbers to turn out and vote him out of office. And we showed the power of that in the midterms. And the bigger the repudiation of him at the ballot box, the more it says to ourselves.
Well, okay, so as the only Democrat not running for president.
Yes. Well, what time is it? I still have time.
Well,
were you talking about you?
No, you would do well. I mean, you jump close to the head of the pack. But so, what is your advice? Because all week what I heard was basically two ideas that, especially after Joe Biden said what he said yesterday. Now, Joe Biden's view is Trump is the issue. The other ones are like, let's stop talking about Trump. We talk about him too much. We want to tell people what we're going to do for them: healthcare, environment, those kind of issues. For example, I've seen you on TV a lot in the last couple of years. I know everything you know, or that you tell us, about the Russian situation. I don't have a clue what you think about healthcare. I've never heard it.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you're for Medicare for all, or improve Obamacare, or get a chicken. I don't know what. Well, I don't know what.
Here's what I was telling my colleagues, and particularly these wonderful candidates we had running in the midterms. Don't talk about Russia. You're not going to persuade people to vote Democrat or Republican based on Russia.
But what about Trump?
Now, I get asked about it because, our investigation for the last 2 years was the only investigation into what Russia did.
Right.
And people ask me about it. But what I urge the candidates and what I urge our nominees to talk about is, how are you going to help American people put bread on the table? How are you going to help them provide for a secure retirement in an environment which people don't stay in the same job their whole life, in a job with globalization and automation? How do people get health care? How do they keep health care when they go from job to job? How do we help young people afford college? Those are the things we need to be talking about. We are in the midst of two revolutions right now, either one of which would be phenomenally disruptive. The two put together are just producing this cataclysm of xenophobic populism around the world. And it's the revolution in the global economy through globalization and automation, when millions are losing their jobs through no fault of their own. And it's the revolution in communication, which is every bit as significant as the invention of the printing press, but it happened overnight, where lies travel faster than truths, where hate goes viral, and you put those two things together and it is a combustible mix. And addressing those challenges, talking about how in this environment we're going to put people to work, we're going to deal with this yawning gap between rich and poor, we're going to make sure that whether you have one job in the morning and you drive an Uber at night, that you have health care at the end of the day and a retirement at the end of your career. That's, I think, what we need to be talking about. And I'll tell you who I'm behind in 2020, and I'm behind them heart and soul: any living adult 2020. Anyone who gets the nomination, we all need to get behind, whether we were for him or not for him.
And I'll let you go, but I see you going on Fox News.
Well, I had some good encouragement from someone very close to you.
Everybody's going on Fox News now. All right, love it. Adam Schiff, it's okay. It's okay when you're here. All right.